All right, so we're continuing the Red Letter Challenge. In your books that you have, we got all the books right here. You should be on page 13. Page 13, is everyone there? I know someone's like, oh, I thought we were on page 7. Like page 13. This is what the beginning of that page looks like. We're talking about forgiving today because we're going through, over the next 40 days, we're going over a few things. Let's see, what I did something wrong. Sorry. This sermon's going to be rip-roaring today if I'm already lost on my slides right now. The whole idea behind this sermon series and the Red Letter Challenge is that we've seen that if Jesus is known for grace and peace, then why are his followers known for judgment? And so that's why we're looking at these things, over the next 40 days, looking at being, forgiving, serving, giving, and going. And today we're talking about forgiveness. And I think a good example of forgiveness, I think we actually stole this from the book, but that's all right, is this couch here. This couch is beautiful, right? How are your couches doing at home? Are they looking nice? Look at you guys got it in like a stark white room and it got a contrasty couch in it, right? Like is that what you're doing? Like, but are your couches doing okay? Really? Because I don't know. Like my couch, you make them look perfect, like they look great, but sometimes you lose the remote, right? Sometimes it eats the remote. There's been this trend lately, and it's a trend that I'm a fan of, but my TV remote and everything is about that big around and about that long. And it loves, as soon as you put it down, it grows legs and it's like, I want to hide in the couch. Like it just does that, right? And then while you're sitting there, you're trying to get chips all over you and stuff like that. Maybe I do couch different than you guys do. And you start looking for the couch, you're looking for the remote and you're like digging in the couch and you're like looking for it. You're like, I know it's somewhere in here, and then all of a sudden your hand touches something that is neither remote nor couch. It's over there, and you're tempted to pull over the bottom of the cushions. You'd be like, I don't know, because what may happen is if you uncover the bottom of the couch, that might be where the coronavirus started down there or something like that. It's super dirty and messy, and I don't know what to do. We often look like our couches, right? We look like we got everything neat and tidy and all those things, but the reality is we stuff in amongst of our cushions the parts of our lives that we want to hide. We like those things that we like, that stuff can't get out. That stuff can't get out because we're worried. Because we're not sure if forgiveness is real. We don't know if we can actually trust that the communities around us will actually forgive us, right? Because maybe we wouldn't be so forgiving if somebody did something to us, right? And that ends up seeing what happens. And we end up holding on to our past too closely. It just is all coming out of the cushions. It only takes one big event to explode the cushions off of our life. And all of our mess is there for everyone to see. And the whole idea behind forgiveness is that if you can't let go of the past, you'll never be able to grab hold of the future. And that's what it's about. And that's how it is with forgiving our neighbor too, and the forgiving our enemies and all these things that we have to be able to let go of the past to be able to continue walking forward. Because that's what Jesus did. He died and rose again. So today, we're going to walk through our gospel lesson today, John chapter 8, verses 1 through 8 or something like that. So, and this story is kind of fascinating. I haven't really preached it before, and the reason why is it has a little note at the top of it. So, if you've read this story in the Bible, it says something to the order of these verses in this story weren't in the oldest manuscripts of John, all right? Which kind of means it may have been added later. We're not sure. A lot of them have it in there. And this isn't the only place it's in the Bible like that. There's a lot of places like that. If you have a study Bible and you're looking through the Old Testament and it has all those notes that are kind of cryptic in the bottom of it, all those are like oh, this word may have been this word, or this word may have been this word, because they're trying to hand it down as best they can. And that happens. Also, that happened at the end of the Gospel of Mark. But what makes John different than the end of the Gospel of Mark is when you're reading the Gospel of Mark and you get to the last few verses of that where it says that same kind of note, that this may have been added later. You read it and it's like, this isn't the same person that wrote this. Like this has a completely different style. It's talking about different things. But when you read John chapter 8, it sounds like the same person. It sounds like Jesus. And it's interesting that there's a little scuttlebutt with this story because there's some interesting stuff in it. And we're going to get into that right away. So John chapter 8, beginning with the first verse here, and it says, "But Jesus went to the Mount of Olives." It's one of the best places I hear. It's way better than the Mount of Grapes. And early in the morning, he came again to the temple. All the people came to him, and he sat down and taught them. The scribes and the Pharisees, they brought a woman who had been caught in adultery. Oh, that's inconvenient. And placing her in the middle of all of them. All right, so we got some nice juicy gossip right here up top. A woman caught in adultery right there. So, but there's a problem with this. Has anyone caught it yet? How many people does it take to commit adultery? Like that, right? Why is there only one? Why is there only one? Oh, and she's a woman. And why is it just the woman, right? Why? Like that's suddenly right here at the beginning where we should be suspicious of everything that's going on. Like it's this guy, like, yeah, because she's just accused right over there. What's going on? Why isn't the guy there? He was guilty, right? Why isn't he there too? So we continue on with the story. And they said to him, "Teacher," and you know how they said it too, like pompous and like, "Teacher, this woman has been caught in adultery. Now you know the law. Moses commanded us to stone such a woman." What do you say, Jesus? Right? Like that's what they're doing. And you know what? They're right. They're right. That is what the law said in Deuteronomy chapter 22. It says this: if a man is found to be sleeping with another man's wife, both the man who slept with her and the woman must die. You must purge the evil from Israel. Okay, well, all right. Well, that's what the law says. Again, I go back to where's the man? Where's the man? Just the lady. What's going on? What's going on here? And do these guys actually care about all this? I don't know. Perhaps John will enlighten us. They said this to test him. Or I like what other translations say. They said this to trap him. Much better word, trap him. They said this in order to trap him, in order to have basis for accusing him, in order so they could bring some charges against him. Like, this is an elaborate plan, is it not? Like, these guys have been planning this because they can't stand Jesus. They can't stand what he's doing and his whole thing. So they're like, oh, we got to hatch this plan. Perhaps the guy is even in on the plan, on this whole thing. And this woman is just a means to an end, which is disgusting, by the way. They are willing to destroy this woman's life in order to use Scripture in such a way so that they can get more power. We'll be talking about that more next year when we go through the Gospel of Mark. That's just a little thing for you there. But that's what they're doing. This woman means nothing to them. The Scriptures really mean nothing to them. All what means to them is they want power. They want to catch Jesus in a contradiction. And they probably feel like they've got him really pegged here because this could go one of two ways. They're like, Jesus, this woman should be stoned, right? And he could answer like this, like, yeah, stone her. And then they go, ha in front of Jesus, and all of his disciples are like, see, he talks a game of grace and all that stuff, but he doesn't actually mean it. Let's stone the beast, right? Like, They do that. Or it could go another way where they could go, no, don't. So we need to show her grace and mercy. And then they go, he doesn't care about the scriptures. Stop listening to Jesus. They mean to trap him. They don't care about the scriptures. They don't care about the woman. They mean to trap him. But Jesus bent down and wrote with his finger on the ground. Like, think about how long they've tried to hatch this plan, and they're all like nervous energy, like we finally got him, like everything's great, everything's going good, and then Jesus, rather than answering, starts to write on the ground with this, like, what are you doing, buddy? Like, and you could tell that they're like, what's he doing? Like someone maybe with a stick would like poked him, like, hurry up, do something. Like, why are you doing this? Like, come on, like, what are you just drawing in the ground for, Jesus? And they kept on questioning him. They continued to ask him. And he stood up and he said, let him who is without sin be among you the first to throw a stone at her. That's weird wording of that translation. Let he without sin be the first among you to throw a stone at her. Why'd this stop working, Kyler? Can you get me to the next one? It's sinful how the battery just died in this, I think. And once more, he bent down and wrote on the ground. But when they heard it, they went away one by one, beginning with the older ones. And Jesus was left alone with the woman still standing there. So Jesus bends down. They still are like, what are you doing, Jesus? And he still bends down again and says, he who has the first stone can throw it. You know, whoever is worthy can still throw it. And the interesting thing is, like, what did Jesus doodle down there? What did he write in the ground? We don't know. It doesn't tell us. Doesn't give us any indication of it. I mean, he could have been doodling like he's like a big smiley face, like a little dude on a skateboard or something like that. He's like, this is going to be huge in 2,000 years. You know, like that's like it could be anything like this. He did that. He could have been writing down a Bible verse. I don't think that would have done anything. These guys obviously don't care about the scriptures anyway. They're just using them to gain more power for themselves. What I think is an interesting outlook that I was kind of reading about as we were studying through this is that maybe Jesus was showing them that they didn't have the ability to throw stones. That maybe he was writing down their names along with something that they did, right? Like they said, Henry last Tuesday with Tom's wife. Yeah, like that's, and like Henry's like, and because he's the oldest guy there, you know, he's like, oh my goodness, and he's like over there, and Tom's like, hey, you know, and like we got to talk, you know, or Tina, 1994 senior prom, Mercury Sable, you know, like that's, and like going over there, and everyone's like, oh my goodness. And I think it's interesting that it says that the older ones left first. Maybe it's because the couch cushions, because of the older nature of them, were stuffed more and more full, right? Stuffed more and more full. They couldn't just take it off. It's a fascinating story. And what I'm going to say next, I need to preface, because we're about to get into Jesus interacting with this woman. Now, I grew up in Atlanta, Georgia, all right, which means something very important. I grew up in an LCMS congregation, but growing up in Atlanta, Georgia, it means that I'm half Baptist, all right? It's just the way things are. It's the way everything works. The people that have spent time in the South, they're like, yep, that's the way it means, right? Like over there, and I spent a lot of times in lots of different youth groups and just all of these things that coalesce around the idea. And from a very formative idea, and the reason why I'm talking about this is I still see it in the church, even in the pure and holy Lutheran churches. But we will what I really believed back then was, in order for Jesus to save me, to be a part of me, I really kind of had to get my act together just a little bit, get my act together just a little bit, and then Jesus would swoop in and save me, right? I need to clean up just a little bit, and I believed that. And I believed that. And this woman here, did she have any time to clean up her act? No. We're talking 30 minutes beforehand. She was in the deed. Don't think about too much. You flee from sin, right? But she was in the deed. And then people maybe ran into the house, grabbed her, and maybe she has a small blanket over her in front of everyone, just in the display of shame. The guy isn't even there. He was probably in on it the whole time. And she's just facing like the fact that she may be ended right then. She's not planning on getting her life together. She wasn't planning on changing. All of a sudden she's standing there in the midst of the muck and the mire of the real situation, staring at Jesus. And he says to her, "Woman," I think it's working now. "Woman, where are they? Has anyone condemned you?" No one. And Jesus says, "Neither do I." Neither do I. Neither do I. Now go. And don't sin anymore. Go and don't sin anymore. And that's what that means for me. When I was growing up, this is what forgiveness means to me. When I was growing up, I was homeschooled. I'm going to pick on it, guys, okay? I was homeschooled. What that means, at least what that means to me, not to everyone else in the room, but it's like you have license to view yourself as better than everyone else in the room. It's just how it is. I was the holy and devout one. I was the good one. I was the one that was always praised by my parents and all their friends, which is where you really want to be praised from, right? I was the one that did all the good things. And I knew that Jesus was going to be with me and bless me. And I was doing all the good things. But there was a problem. I started to kind of get on my own in life. I went to my first college, West Central Technical College. Woo, right? Went there, and all of a sudden I got some friends. And these people were not the squeaky clean variety. These people were not just wearing pleated khakis and polos for the heck of it, all right? They were people that did stuff in high school and currently were that I would never do. But as I got closer to them, I saw something and it changed me. I saw that God loved them and that God was using them and that God was forgiving them. And in that moment, that began this erosion of change. This is before I even desired to be a pastor, by the way. I was planning on doing something else. I saw that and began to erode this thing inside of me, and I began to see that it was that God loved them and God forgave them. And when that began to be erode inside of me, I think I started to see that God could actually forgive me, even though I'd been perfect. I looked like that red couch, right? I had stuffing things on that couch all the time, but all those things that I was trying to hide, I saw that those were handled as well. And it was a journey, and it still is a journey. It still is a journey. But I see that God has forgiven me now, and that forgiveness now flows out. Now, sometimes people do something really nasty to me, and I struggle with it. But I see that God forgives me, and that changed my disposition to people that just a little bit before We're completely sinful. And it's almost like I saw Jesus say to these people, well, neither do I condemn you. Go and sin no more. You know, one of our favorite Bible verses in the church is this one. It says, John 3:16, "For God so loved the world that he gave his only son, that whoever believes in him would not perish but have eternal life." I've heard that verse so much, not said out of the grace that verse is, but they say it as like, you gotta do this. Like, this is how Jesus saves you. Like, you got to do this. But you see the very next little bit, if we keep on reading, it says, "For God did not send his son into the world to condemn it, but in order that the world might be saved through him." And not but 30, 40 minutes of reading later, you get to the story of a woman who means nothing to the crowd around them. And she's standing there in the muck and the mire of her own existence, and she's staring at Jesus in her eyes, the one guy that actually has a stone to throw, right? And he says, "I'm not. You're forgiven." Because I don't know what's going to happen in our own worlds, but at some point, we're going to be like that woman. Our couch, someone's going to walk in. It probably won't be me. Maybe it will. Invite me over sometime. We'll find out. I'll come in and I'll just turn over the couch cushions. I'm like, there's a McDonald's fry. You nasty, nasty person. Some people that are like young parents tell me about how they find applesauce pouches in their couches. That's disgusting. Open ones. Like, I'm getting some nods. Like, that's truly heinous, right? But that's like someone's like, at some point your couch cushions are going to get overturned, and you're going to realize that it's all, and you're not going to be ready. But in that moment, Jesus still looks at you and goes, "I'm not going to condemn you. I still love you, and you are still with me." And that's what I love about the cross of Jesus. That's what I love about the cross, that God, did you notice what Jesus was doing with that woman? He never got above her. He's never like, "Well, you shouldn't be doing that anyway, but I guess I'll forgive you this time." You know, he didn't hold anything over her. Said he got down in the ground. He got down in the mud, and that's a beautiful picture of the cross. Because that's how I view the cross now, is that is the bottom of humanity. When humanity decides that we want to kill the Creator, I think that's the bottom of humanity. And God went willingly to the bottom of humanity so that no matter how low, how dirty our couch cushions are, how deep in the muck and the mire of our existence that we are in, we know that God meets us there, and that when he rises, he takes us up with him. That you are forgiven. That you are forgiven. And we see that the foot of the cross, that mud hole of the foot of the cross, is that there's mercy in that mud. There's mercy in that dirt. There's mercy that he gives you. So, I think forgiveness is what we need. Because there's so much going on, and everything that's going on, I mean, we look at it like, there's all kinds of racial tensions. There's all the crazy things that you guys share on Facebook. Oh my goodness. There's the stuff that we watch on TV that all centers around, I got to be right about this and I got to be angry. And I think the Lord comes to us and he forgives us. And I think that same spirit can come out from us and we can forgive those around us. Even those we disagree with. Even those, because that's what the world needs. The world doesn't need us to be correct. The world needs our forgiveness and our love. So let's go bring that forgiveness. And that's where I'll end right there. So let's say a prayer. Jesus, we thank you that you love us so much and that you're with us. Continue to guide us, Lord. Lord, help us to see how you meet us in our bottom places, in our dirty cushions, in the mud. Lord, let us continue to move from this place, that we may continue to meet those around us in their dirty cushions and mud and be able to offer forgiveness that comes from your Spirit. Thank you, Jesus. Amen.